You have probably checked something more than once today, even though the information had not changed. Maybe it was your phone. Maybe it was a message you already read. Maybe it was the look on someone's face, a number in an account, an unanswered notification, a calendar, a door, a silence, a sentence that kept returning to your mind because part of you believed there might be a hidden meaning inside it. You were not looking for new information. You were looking for relief. That is what fear often does when it learns how to dress itself as responsibility. It tells you that one more check will settle you. One more thought will prepare you. One more mental rehearsal will keep you from being surprised. One more explanation will prevent misunderstanding. One more attempt to predict another person's mood will help you stay safe. One more plan will protect you from disappointment. Then the checking finishes, and instead of feeling lighter, you feel a little more tired. You may know this tiredness well. It is not always the tiredness of having done too much with your hands. It can be the tiredness of having done too much inside your mind. You can sit in one chair for an hour and come away feeling as if you have been carrying boxes all day, because fear can turn stillness into labor. It can make you rehearse 10 conversations that never happen. It can make you solve tomorrow before tomorrow exists. It can make you prepare yourself for an answer no one has given. You may have done some of that today without calling it fear. You may have called it being careful. You may have called it staying realistic. You may have called it keeping your expectations low. You may have called it being mature, being responsible, being prepared, being good at reading people, being someone who sees problems before they arrive. And some of those abilities may truly have helped you. But there is a difference between wisdom and constant inner guarding. There is a difference between paying attention and never letting yourself rest inside your own attention. There is a difference between recognizing what is real and repeatedly asking your mind to invent everything that could go wrong. You do not have to judge yourself for crossing that line. You do not even have to decide exactly where the line is today. Nothing is required of you here. This is not another task to complete before you can finally be peaceful. You are not being asked to become fearless. You are not being ordered to think positively. You are not being told to replace every difficult thought with a beautiful one. You do not have to prove that you are healing. You do not have to perform calmness for anyone. You do not need to force your body to relax. You do not need to force your mind to stop. You do not need to force yourself to trust life before trust feels available. In fact, forcing yourself can become one more form of exhaustion. You may already know that feeling too. Perhaps it learned to become helpful before asking for help. Perhaps it learned to become agreeable before knowing what it wanted. Perhaps it learned to sense tension before understanding why its stomach tightened. Perhaps it learned that being good meant being easy to love. Perhaps it learned that being prepared was safer than being surprised. Perhaps it learned that other people's comfort mattered urgently while its own discomfort could wait. No single history is being placed on you here. You know your life better than anyone listening from the outside ever could. But many people know what it means to become outwardly attentive before becoming inwardly cared for. They know what it means to become the person who checks on everyone while rarely asking what they themselves need. They know how to offer reassurance almost automatically. They know how to find the right words for somebody else. They know how to say, "You will be okay." They know how to say, "Take your time." They know how to say, "You did the best you could." They know how to say, "You do not have to explain yourself to me." Then they turn inward and speak in a completely different language. Hurry, fix this, stop feeling like this, get over it, be stronger, do better. Why are you still afraid? The warm words go outward, the hard words stay home. That is one of the quiet places where energy disappears. Not because love is a limited resource, not because caring for others is wrong, not because generosity weakens you. The loss happens when nearly all your inner warmth travels in one direction, outward, away from the smaller hands, away from the part of you that has been waiting beneath all that competence. The image is simple. Your grown hands are holding the flame. The smaller hands inside you are cupped beneath them, and for once you are not, being asked to produce more light. You are being asked to change where some of the light goes. This is the answer beginning to open. Your real energy may not have vanished. A great deal of it may have been occupied by watching, occupied by adjusting, occupied by anticipating, occupied by caring for everything except the part of you doing the caring, occupied by holding the flame toward the world while the smaller hands within you waited in the dimness. That is different from saying your energy is limitless. It is not. Bodies become tired. Stress affects people. Responsibilities use real effort. Grief can be exhausting. Illness can change what is available. Work can drain you. Caregiving can drain you. Conflict can drain you. Financial pressure can drain you. There are practical reasons for fatigue, and you deserve to take them seriously. But beside those real demands, there can be another drain. The constant outward direction of your attention. This is where the candle matters. A flame cannot illuminate everything at once. If you hold it toward one corner, another remains darker. If you keep extending your arms, your body eventually tires. If you spend all day protecting the flame from imagined danger, you may forget that its purpose is not only to warn you, it is also meant to warm you. You do not have to extinguish fear to receive that warmth. This is important. Some people try to heal fear by declaring war on it. They decide they must become brave. They create a new standard. No fear, no doubt, no overthinking, no weakness, no looking back. And for a few hours, the language feels powerful. Then fear appears because fear is part of being human. A difficult message comes, a memory returns, a plan changes, someone withdraws. The body feels something unfamiliar. A bill arrives. A conversation becomes uncertain. And suddenly the person believes they have failed at healing because fear is still present. But a candle does not become a failure because a shadow exists. Light and shadow can exist in the same room. Courage and fear can exist in the same body. Trust and uncertainty can exist in the same day. You can be afraid and still make a wise choice. You can feel unsettled and still tell the truth. You can have doubt and still set a boundary. You can feel tenderness and still say no. You can feel fear and still move through an ordinary afternoon without making fear the center of everything. The goal is not to become a person who never feels afraid. The goal is to stop giving fear every piece of your light. There is a difference. Fear says, shine everything over here. Watch this problem. Watch this possibility. Watch this person. Watch what might change. Watch what you could lose. Watch what you could have done better. Watch what could be wrong. Watch me. And because fear can feel urgent, your attention obeys. Meanwhile, the smaller hands inside you remain waiting. They are not asking for a perfect life. They are asking for some of your warmth. The same warmth you know how to give when someone you love is frightened. Think about that. If someone you cared about came to you and said, "I am scared that everything is going wrong," would you lean close and say, "Then think about it harder until you are exhausted"? Would you tell them to replay every mistake? Would you tell them to predict every possible loss? Would you tell them that being afraid means they are spiritually failing? Would you demand that they become calm immediately? Probably not. You would make room. You would listen. You might help them separate what is happening from what they fear may happen. You might remind them that one difficult moment does not contain their entire future. You might help them identify what can be done now and what cannot. You might sit beside them without requiring a solution. That is warmth, not rescue, not denial. Warmth. And you already understand how to offer it. The invitation is to include yourself among those worthy of receiving it. This can feel surprisingly unfamiliar, especially if you have spent a long time believing that caring for yourself means waiting until everyone else is okay. But everyone else may never be completely okay. Life keeps moving. People have needs. Families have problems. Jobs create demands. Relationships go through seasons. There will always be someone who could use something from you. There will always be another message, another task, another decision, another responsibility. If your turn comes only after everything around you is settled, your turn may never come. The smaller hands keep waiting. So imagine what happens when the grown hands begin to lower. Not because the world has stopped needing anything, because you have remembered someone else who also lives here. You. The flame comes closer. The light reaches the smaller palms. Warmth arrives where vigilance has been living. Nothing has been defeated. Nothing has been forced. Something has simply changed direction. This is one of the deepest differences between forcing and caring. Forcing says, stop being afraid. Caring says, you do not have to hold this alone. Forcing says, become positive. Caring says, tell me what you are protecting. Forcing says, move on. Caring says, I understand why part of you keeps looking back. Forcing says, there is no danger. Caring says, let us see what is actually here. Forcing says, calm down. Caring says, I am here while this feeling moves through. Fear often becomes louder when it believes no one is listening. That does not mean every fearful thought deserves belief. It means the part producing the thought may need something other than argument. You have probably tried argument. You have told yourself not to worry. You have listed reasons everything should be fine. You have tried distracting yourself. You have tried criticizing yourself. You have tried staying busy. You may even have tried filling every quiet space because quiet allowed fear to speak. Sometimes those strategies help for a while. Sometimes they are exactly what you need. But if the fear keeps returning, it may be asking for a different relationship. Not more attention to the story. More care for the storyteller. There is the distinction. The fearful story may say, they are going to leave me. You do not have to spend an hour proving or disproving that prediction. You can turn toward the part that is terrified of being left. The story may say, I am going to fail. You do not have to build an entire future around failure. You can meet the part that believes one mistake would make it unworthy. The story may say, something bad is about to happen. You do not have to search every corner of your life for proof. You can recognize that some part of you has been standing watch too long. The story may say, I need to know right now. You can understand the hunger for certainty without pretending certainty exists. This is how the flame moves inward, not by feeding every thought, by caring for the one who is carrying the thought. There is wisdom in this. Fear and wisdom are often confused because both can tell you to pay attention, but they feel different in practice. Wisdom narrows your attention toward what matters. Fear scatters your attention across everything that could happen. Wisdom may say, this situation does not feel right. gather information. Fear may say, assume the worst before you know anything. Wisdom may say, that boundary was crossed. Respond. Fear may say, now every relationship is dangerous. Wisdom may say, your body is telling you something. Seek appropriate care. Fear may say, search endlessly until you have frightened yourself with every possibility. Wisdom may say, check the facts. Fear may say, keep checking because the facts might change the moment you look away. Wisdom does not require panic. Wisdom does not have to scream. It can be firm. It can be immediate. It can tell you to leave. It can tell you to speak. It can tell you to seek help. It can tell you to stop. But wisdom does not need you to suffer in advance to prove that you understand the seriousness of a situation. This matters because some people mistake peace for carelessness. They think that if they stop worrying, they will stop caring. If they stop rehearsing, they will become irresponsible. If they stop anticipating every difficulty, they will become vulnerable to chaos. But worry is not the measure of love. Tension is not the measure of responsibility. Exhaustion is not proof of devotion. You do not love someone more because you spend all night imagining what could happen to them. You do not care about your future more because you punish yourself with it. You do not become more responsible by carrying a problem at every hour of the day. Sometimes responsibility looks like action. Sometimes responsibility looks like planning. Sometimes it looks like asking for help. Sometimes it looks like accepting that you cannot control another person. Sometimes it looks like putting the phone down. Sometimes it looks like letting a decision wait until you have enough information. Sometimes it looks like admitting that your mind has reached the end of what thinking can solve. The candle does not need to burn in every direction. It only needs to be brought where light is useful. There is another lesson in the way a flame is held. You cannot protect it by squeezing it. Your hands cannot grip fire into safety. Too much force destroys what you are trying to preserve. You make space around a flame. You shelter it. You respect what it is. You understand that care and control are not the same thing. Think of how often fear has told you the opposite. Grip harder. Control the conversation. Control the impression. Control what they think of you. Control whether they stay. Control what tomorrow brings. Control every emotion before it shows on your face. Control your future by anticipating every risk. Control your body by monitoring every sensation. Control your life by refusing to be surprised. The arms grow tired. The flame is still small, and you wonder why so little warmth reaches you. My dear, you were never meant to hold your entire life in a clenched fist. Care has a different shape. Care creates enough space for reality to be seen, enough space to say, this is difficult, and I am still here. Enough space to say, I do not know what happens next. Enough space to say, there is something I can do. Enough space to say, there is nothing I can do at this moment. Enough space to say, this person's reaction belongs to them. Enough space to say, I can be misunderstood and still know who I am. Enough space to say, I can disappoint someone without becoming bad. Enough space to say, someone else's discomfort is not always an emergency I must solve. Enough space to bring the flame inward. You may feel resistance when you hear that. Part of you may say, if I focus on myself, I am selfish. Look more closely at what is being asked. You are not being asked to stop loving anyone. You are not being asked to ignore responsibilities. You are not being asked to become indifferent to other people's needs. You are being invited to stop making your own inner life the last place your care reaches. There is a difference between selfishness and inclusion. Selfishness says only I matter. Self-abandonment says everyone matters except me. Care says I matter too. That small word changes everything. 2. Your needs matter too. Your energy matters too. Your limits matter too. Your fear deserves understanding too. Your body deserves consideration too. Your uncertainty deserves patience too. Your life does not need to become more important than everyone else's. It needs to become included in the circle. The candle is not taken away from anyone. It is shared inward. That is why the image is not about hiding your light from the world. It is about ending the habit of giving away every ounce of warmth before you receive any yourself. And the more clearly you see that habit, the more ordinary its moments become. You can see it when someone asks you for something, and your first answer is yes before you know what it will cost. You can see it when a friend is upset and you immediately begin carrying their mood. You can see it when someone becomes quiet and you start searching your memory for what you did wrong. You can see it when a request arrives and your body tightens, but your mouth says no problem. You can see it when someone disagrees with you and you begin over-explaining because disagreement feels like rejection. You can see it when you make one mistake and spend the rest of the day trying to prove that you are still competent. You can see it when someone does not choose you and you turn their decision into a verdict on your worth. You can see it when plans change and your mind translates change into danger. You can see it when you are tired but continue giving because stopping feels like letting someone down. In those moments, imagine the grown hands. They are capable hands. Hands that have worked. Hands that have repaired. Hands that have held other people. Hands that have carried responsibilities nobody saw. Hands that have learned what to do in difficult moments. They are not helpless hands. They are not the hands of the frightened part. That distinction matters. The grown part of you is here now. It has lived through things the smaller part once feared it could never survive. It knows more. It has choices. It can learn. It can ask questions. It can change direction. It can leave rooms that once would have felt impossible to leave. It can seek support. It can decide what kind of access people have to your life. It can learn to say no. It can learn to say yes without resentment. It can become more discerning without becoming hard. It can protect without punishing. It can hold the flame. And because the grown hands can hold it, the smaller hands no longer need to act like guards. This is where something begins to shift. The part of you that learned to scan everything may not need to disappear. It may need a new role. Instead of asking it to patrol every possibility, you can let it become sensitive without becoming responsible for the entire future. Sensitivity can become discernment. Renesse can become presence. Care can become choice. Preparation can become practical rather than endless. Intuition can become quieter when it is not mixed with constant dread. You do not have to lose the strengths that grew beside fear. That is something many people worry about. If I stop overthinking, will I become careless? If I stop reading everyone so closely, will I become insensitive? If I stop preparing for problems, will I lose my ability to cope? If I stop being hard on myself, will I stop growing? You do not have to become less capable. You can become less consumed. There is a difference between losing a skill and releasing the belief that the skill must be active every minute. A firefighter does not become less competent by leaving the station when there is no fire. A musician does not become less skilled by putting down the instrument. A strong pair of hands does not become weak when it opens. Your attention can rest from guarding without losing its intelligence. And here is where the question from earlier closes. Where has your energy actually been going? Some of it has gone into your real responsibilities, some into your real losses, some into the ordinary effort of being alive. But some has been standing at the edge of your life like a guard with no end to the shift. Watching the phone, watching the face, watching the future, watching for disappointment, watching for rejection, watching for what might need to be fixed, watching everyone else while the smaller hands inside you remain open. That is the missing place. Not all of your energy is gone. Some of it has been assigned to watch. And what has been assigned can, over time, be reassigned. Not all at once. Not through force. Not by pretending there is nothing to fear. By bringing a little of your attention back toward the person who has been doing all the watching. This is why the flame belongs in your grown hands. The grown hands do not have to throw it away. They do not have to blow it out. They do not have to hold it higher. They begin to lower it closer toward the smaller hands. The smaller hands do not demand a speech. They do not ask for proof that the future will be perfect. They do not need you to promise that no one will ever disappoint you. They do not need certainty. They need contact. They need to know that when fear rises, you will not immediately send all your attention outside yourself. They need to know that another person's silence will not make you disappear from your own life. They need to know that someone else's opinion will not automatically become your inner law. They need to know that uncertainty does not mean you have to become cruel to yourself. They need to know that being afraid will not cause you to withdraw your own warmth. That may be the deepest shift of all. For a long time, fear may have caused you to leave yourself emotionally. You felt afraid, so you went looking outward for reassurance, for signs, for answers, for approval, for proof, for control, for someone else to tell you that everything was okay. There is nothing shameful about reaching for support. People need people. But support becomes fragile when all inner warmth depends on what comes back from the outside. What happens when the message does not arrive? What happens when the person cannot reassure you? What happens when someone misunderstands? What happens when no one has the answer? What happens when uncertainty cannot be solved today? That is when the grown hands matter most. You are learning that your care does not have to disappear just because certainty does. The flame can remain. A small, steady warmth, not a guarantee, not a prediction, not a promise that nothing difficult will happen. A relationship, a way of meeting yourself, a way of saying fear is here and I am here too. You may have spent years waiting for fear to leave before offering yourself peace. But perhaps peace begins differently. Perhaps it begins when fear arrives and does not find you missing. It finds your grown hands. It finds warmth. It finds space. It finds a person who no longer needs to become their own threat. This does not make you passive. It makes action clearer. When fear is not using all your energy to produce 10 imaginary futures, you have more attention for the one reality in front of you. You can see the actual conversation, the actual choice, the actual boundary, the actual bill, the actual need, the actual opportunity, the actual next step. You can respond to what exists rather than exhausting yourself responding to what might. That is real energy returning in a form you can use. Not dramatic, not supernatural, available, present, yours. And as the grown hands lower the flame toward the smaller ones, something else becomes visible. Those smaller hands were never asking to control your life. They were asking to be included in it. They were asking not to be left alone with every alarm. They were asking for the warmth you gave so freely elsewhere. They were asking you to remember that the light was always meant to travel inward too. In the next movement, we are going to give that inward movement words, not words that demand belief, not words that pretend fear has disappeared, words that can sit beside resistance without fighting it, words that let the smaller hands receive what they have been waiting for. For now, keep only the image, your grown hands, the warm flame, the smaller cupped hands within you. Nothing is being taken from the world. Some of your light is finally coming home. That sentence may sound comforting, but comfort is not the only thing happening here. A change in direction can feel unfamiliar before it feels peaceful. If you have spent years sending your attention outward whenever fear appears, turning inward may initially feel wrong. You may feel restless. You may wonder whether you are ignoring something important. You may feel an urge to check, explain, solve, ask, search, prepare, or reach for someone who can tell you what happens next. That urge does not mean the inward movement is failing. It means the old direction is familiar. Your hands know the old movement. Fear rises. Attention goes outward. Someone else becomes the answer. A future outcome becomes the answer. More information becomes the answer. Control becomes the answer. Your mind begins reaching before you have even asked whether reaching is necessary. The new movement is smaller. Fear rises. The grown hands remain. The flame lowers. The smaller hands receive warmth. Then you decide what actually needs your attention. This changes the order. You do not abandon reality. You meet yourself before you meet the alarm. You do not pretend the problem is gone. You stop making fear the only voice allowed to interpret it. That may be one of the most important uses of your energy. Not forcing yourself into calm. Not convincing yourself that everything is perfect. Giving yourself enough inward steadiness to see clearly. There is a reason fear can become so persuasive when you are exhausted. A tired mind wants certainty quickly. A tired body wants the discomfort to end. A tired heart can confuse immediate reassurance with lasting safety. You may know the feeling of wanting an answer so badly that almost any answer seems easier than not knowing. Tell me they still care. Tell me I did not ruin it. Tell me the result will be good. Tell me I am not too late. Tell me I will be chosen. Tell me I will be okay. There is tenderness inside those requests. They are not embarrassing. They come from a part of you that wants something firm to hold. But certainty is not always available when you want it. Warmth can be. That is the distinction the flame keeps teaching. Certainty belongs to outcomes. Warmth belongs to relationship. Certainty asks, what will happen? Warmth asks, how will I meet myself while I do not know? Certainty asks, will they stay? Warmth asks, if someone leaves, will I still remain present in my own life? Certainty asks, will I succeed? Warmth asks, Can I respect myself while learning what happens? Certainty asks, will I be safe forever? Warmth asks, what does care require from me now? The flame does not answer every question. It changes who is standing beside you while the question remains, and that is why the smaller hands matter. They are not there because you need to become childish. They are there because some fears do not respond to adult arguments. You can know intellectually that one delayed message means nothing and still feel your stomach tighten. You can know that someone else's disappointment does not define you and still feel a rush of shame when they are unhappy. You can know that uncertainty is normal and still want to escape it. You can know that one mistake does not destroy your future and still replay it. Information does not always reach the part of you that is afraid. Warmth can reach differently. It says, I know why you are scared. I know why you are looking for signs. I know why you want to prepare. I know why this silence feels larger than silence. I know why your mind wants to run ahead. I know why you think staying alert will protect you. And I am not leaving because you are afraid. That is the point where fear can begin to soften without being defeated. Not because you argued with it, because it no longer has to shout across an empty distance. There is someone listening now. You, the grown you. The you who can decide whether an action is needed. The you who can choose a boundary. The you who can ask for help. The you who can say, I do not know. The you who can stop a conversation that has become harmful. The you who can change a plan. The you who can seek facts instead of feeding imagined conclusions. The you who can rest attention somewhere other than the worst possibility. The smaller hands do not have to become the grown hands. That is not their job. Their job is to receive. Your job is not to make them disappear. Your job is to stop handing them the responsibility for predicting your future. This is how energy begins to return. Every time you stop asking the frightened part of you to solve what the grown part can handle, some energy becomes available. Every time you recognize that uncertainty is present without turning uncertainty into catastrophe, some energy becomes available. Every time you let another person have their own mood without immediately making it your assignment, some energy becomes available. Every time you choose not to explain yourself beyond what is honest and necessary, some energy becomes available. Every time you let a message remain unanswered for a while without building a story around it, some energy becomes available. Every time you say no without spending the next hour prosecuting yourself for it, some energy becomes available. Every time you acknowledge fear without giving it the entire room, some energy becomes available. This is not energy appearing from nowhere. It is attention no longer being spent in the same old places. That is why the return can feel subtle at first. You may not suddenly become energetic in a dramatic way. You may simply feel less divided. You may notice that you finish one task without mentally living inside 3 future problems. You may have a conversation without reviewing it all afternoon. You may feel uncertainty without immediately searching for reassurance. You may recognize someone else's tension and let it remain theirs. You may sit quietly without turning the quiet into a trial. You may discover that energy often returns first as space. A little more space between a feeling and a conclusion. A little more space between a message and your response. A little more space between someone's disappointment and your self-judgment. A little more space between fear and obedience. That space is not emptiness, it is choice. And choice is one of the places your strength lives. You do not need unlimited choices. Sometimes circumstances are genuinely constrained. Sometimes the only choices available are difficult ones. Sometimes every option includes loss. But even then, there can be a difference between facing what is real and using fear to injure yourself before reality has even spoken. That difference matters. The flame is not asking you to deny difficulty. It is asking you to stop offering every difficult possibility your entire supply of attention. Hold the image again. The grown hands. The single warm flame. The smaller cupped hands. The light moving downward and inward. There is no audience. No one is grading you. You tell yourself, I should be over this by now. I should not be thinking about it. I should be stronger. I should stop caring. I should stop checking. I should stop needing reassurance. I should stop being affected by what happened. Then fear is no longer the only thing you carry. Now you are carrying shame about having fear at all. That second weight can be heavier than the first. So for now, there is nothing to defeat, nothing to erase, nothing to prove. There is only something to understand. Your energy has been going somewhere. That is the quiet question I want to hold with you for a while. Where has your energy actually been going? Not in an abstract way, not in a spiritual slogan, in the most ordinary parts of your day. Think about how quickly you answer certain people. Think about how carefully you choose your words around someone whose reactions feel unpredictable. Think about the way you can type a message, delete it, type it again, make it softer, make it clearer, remove a sentence, add an explanation, reread the entire thing, send it, then reopen the conversation to see whether they have seen it. Think about what happens in the few minutes after. Part of you tries to move on. Another part stays near the phone. Did they read it? Did I say too much? Did I say too little? Did that sound rude? Did I sound needy? What if they misunderstood me? What if they do not answer? What if they answer in a way I do not know how to handle? A whole inner room can become busy around a single message, and outwardly, nothing seems to be happening. You can look perfectly composed while your mind is running an entire emergency department for a situation that may not be an emergency at all. This is one way fear uses energy. It divides your attention. Some of you remains in the present, and some of you is sent ahead to investigate what might happen next. Some of you is here, and some of you is still back there, replaying what already happened. Some of you is speaking to the person in front of you, while another part is reviewing the tone of someone who spoke to you hours ago. Some of you is eating dinner, while another part is preparing for tomorrow's difficulty. Some of you is trying to sleep, while another part is scanning old decisions for evidence that you made the wrong one. This can become so familiar that you stop recognizing it as effort. You only recognize the result. You say, "I do not know why I am so drained." You say, "I barely did anything today." You say, "I should have more energy than this." You say, "I slept, but I still feel tired inside." You may even become frustrated with yourself for not having more enthusiasm, more focus, more motivation, more patience. But what if the issue is not that you have failed to create enough energy? What if too much of your energy has been assigned to guarding? Do not answer that yet. Just let the question sit near you. No one needs to know whether you believe the image perfectly. It is only a way to remember something you may have forgotten. Your care belongs inside you too. Your energy belongs inside you too. Your warmth belongs inside you too. The frightened part of you does not have to earn it by becoming fearless. It can receive while fear is still present. This is where words can become useful, not as commands, not as magic, not as a way to overpower reality. Words can become a direction for attention. A sentence can tell your grown hands where to move. So let this one arrive without pressure. I let fear soften, and I welcome my own energy back with love. You do not have to believe every word immediately. You do not have to feel a great shift. The sentence is not a test. It is not measuring your progress. It is offering your attention a new direction. I let fear soften, and I welcome my own energy back with love. The word you may resist is soften. Some part of you may hear that word and think, if I soften, I will become vulnerable. If I soften, I will miss the warning. If I soften, I will let someone hurt me. If I soften, I will stop protecting myself. But softening is not the same as surrendering your boundaries. Softening is not becoming careless. Softening is not ignoring facts. Softening is not trusting everyone. Softening is not staying where you are harmed. Softening means fear does not have to keep every muscle of your inner life clenched in order for you to remain wise. A hand can open and still act. A hand can soften and still say no. A hand can hold warmth and still close a door. A hand can release tension without releasing discernment. This matters. Because fear sometimes convinces you that hardness is the only form of protection. It is not. Riti protects too. Boundaries protect. Information protects. Support protects. Distance can protect. Leaving can protect. Asking for help can protect. Rest can protect your capacity to think. Self-respect can protect you from returning to what repeatedly diminishes you. Softness is not an invitation to become available for harm. It is an invitation to stop harming yourself in the name of being prepared. Let the line return more quietly. I let fear soften, and I welcome my own energy back with love. If that still feels too far from where you are, make the doorway smaller. You do not have to say something your whole system rejects. There is no prize for forcing belief. Use only this: I am willing to let some of this fear loosen. That may be enough today. Willingness is not certainty. It is not a promise that you will never feel this way again. It is a small opening. I am willing to let some of this fear loosen. You might feel nothing when you say it. That is acceptable. You might feel relief. You might feel resistance. You might feel sadness under the fear. You might discover anger there. You might realize that what you called fear is partly exhaustion. You might recognize that you have been waiting for permission to stop carrying something. You do not need to manufacture the right response. The smaller hands do not need a performance. They need honesty. If the honest sentence is, I am still afraid, begin there. If the honest sentence is, I am tired of being afraid, begin there. If the honest sentence is, I do not know how to stop checking, begin there. If the honest sentence is, I do not trust myself yet, begin there. If the honest sentence is, I want to believe I can feel different, begin there. Truth can hold warmth. You do not need beautiful words to care for yourself. You need words that do not abandon what is actually happening. This is also where something important must be said clearly. Inner peace is never a requirement to stay in a place where you are being harmed. Self-compassion does not mean tolerating abuse. Understanding fear does not mean ignoring danger. If someone is threatening you, controlling you, hurting you, exploiting you, repeatedly violating your boundaries, or making your environment unsafe, your task is not to become peaceful enough to endure it. Your safety matters. Distance can be loving toward yourself. A firm boundary can be loving. Leaving can be loving. Calling someone you trust can be loving. Turning toward community can be loving. Seeking qualified professional support can be an act of strength. And if fear or distress is affecting your health, daily functioning, relationships, or ability to feel safe, supportive words like these can exist alongside appropriate medical or psychological care. They are not a replacement for that care. You do not have to prove your strength by handling everything alone. The flame was never meant to isolate you. It represents the care you bring inward, while also recognizing that human beings often need safe people around them. Warmth can come from your own hands. Warmth can also come through trustworthy relationships. The two do not compete. Receiving support does not make your inner work less real. Sometimes the grown hands know exactly when to reach for another hand. That too is wisdom. Fear can tell you that asking for help is failure. It can tell you everyone else is already carrying too much. It can tell you that your pain is not serious enough. It can tell you to wait until you can explain everything perfectly. But support does not require a perfect speech. Sometimes the first honest sentence is enough. I am having a hard time. I do not feel safe. I need help thinking this through. I need someone to sit with me. I need professional support. I need space from this situation. I need time. Those are grown hand sentences. They come from the part of you willing to meet reality. This is another way the flame changes fear. It turns fear from a secret burden into information that can guide wise action. Fear no longer has to become an endless private performance. It can become a signal. Then the signal can be examined. Is there danger here? Is there uncertainty here? Is there an old memory being activated? Is there a boundary I have ignored? Is there a practical step available? Is my body exhausted? Am I asking myself to control something that belongs to another person? Do I need support? The grown hands can ask these questions without panic. They can hold the flame near the smaller hands while they look at the facts. And here is something else the image reveals. The smaller hands were never asking you to promise that nothing bad would happen. That promise would be impossible. They were asking for a different promise, a promise about your relationship with yourself. This is the smaller loop I want you to carry forward. If you cannot promise yourself a perfectly safe future, what can you promise? Not a guarantee about the world, not a prediction about another person, not a vow that you will never feel fear. A promise made entirely from the vocabulary of these hands and this flame. We are close to it. Before we reach it, look at what has already changed. At the beginning, fear was directing your attention outward. Check, watch, prepare. Read the room, read the message, read the future. Now another movement exists. Bring the light inward. Meet the smaller hands. Ask what is real. Choose what belongs to you. Release what does not. Act where action is possible. Let uncertainty remain where certainty is unavailable. This is not passivity, it is conservation. You are learning not to spend tomorrow's energy on 10 futures that may never arrive. You are learning now, or to give every silence a meaning. You are learning not to make every person's reaction into a command. You are learning that your own attention is valuable. Where attention goes, energy often follows. Where fear sends attention constantly, fatigue can grow. Where care brings attention home, there can be room for strength to return. This return may feel like speaking more slowly before saying yes. It may feel like not answering immediately. It may feel like letting another person think what they think. It may feel like closing a conversation that has become circular. It may feel like choosing not to reread the message. It may feel like admitting that you cannot solve tonight what belongs to next week. It may feel like giving yourself the same patience you would give someone you love. It may feel like placing both feet on the floor and recognizing that the frightening future in your mind is not the same thing as the room you are actually in. It may feel ordinary. That does not make it small. A life is built through ordinary movements. The hand that does not reach for the phone. The mouth that does not produce the unnecessary apology. The mind that catches itself inventing a conclusion and returns to the facts. The body that is permitted to unclench before certainty arrives. The person who realizes, I can care without carrying everything. These are ways energy returns. You may still have demanding days. You may still become afraid. You may still overthink sometimes. The goal is not perfection. Perfection would only give fear another job. Monitor your healing. Measure your peace. Check whether you are doing self-love correctly. Grade every reaction. That would be the same old guarding in new clothing. No. The flame asks less from you. Come inward. Share the warmth. Take the next honest step. That is enough. And when fear says, what if I forget? You probably will sometimes. Everyone does. Old habits are efficient. They move before thought. You may find yourself halfway through a familiar spiral before you remember the image. That does not erase anything. The grown hands are still there. You can return in the middle. You do not have to start the day over. You do not have to punish yourself for forgetting. The flame does not disappear because you looked away. You remember. You lower your hands. You begin where you are. This is why the vow matters. A vow is not useful here if it becomes another impossible standard. It has to belong completely to the concept. No promises about outcomes. No promises about never struggling. Only a direction. Only a relationship. Only the movement of warmth. So when you are ready to let these words belong to you, let them be simple. I pass this warm flame inward into the smaller hands within me. That is the vow. I pass this warm flame inward into the smaller hands within me. Not because the world no longer deserves your light, because you do too. Not because you are withdrawing love, because love that never reaches inward becomes exhaustion. Not because fear has vanished, because fear no longer gets to decide that every ounce of warmth must be sent somewhere else. The grown hands hold, the flame remains, the smaller hands receive, and the promise you could not make to the future becomes something you can make in the present. You cannot promise that nothing difficult will happen. You can pass warmth inward when difficulty comes. You cannot promise that everyone will understand you. You can pass warmth inward when you are misunderstood. You cannot promise that everyone you love will stay. You can pass warmth inward when loss changes the shape of your life. You cannot promise that every decision will work out exactly as you hope. You can pass warmth inward when you have to learn. You cannot promise yourself a life without uncertainty. You can decide that uncertainty will not automatically send you away from yourself. That is the answer to the smaller loop. The promise is not control. The promise is inward light. And there is still one thing left to discover. What changes in an ordinary day when the flame is no longer held only in thought, but carried into the body that has been doing all this guarding? That is where we go next. Into the jaw that has been holding back words. Into the shoulders that rise before you answer. Into the chest that braces when the phone lights up. Into the hands that reach too quickly. Into the stomach that tightens around uncertainty. Not to force any of them to relax, to bring the same warmth there. To let the body learn what the smaller hands are already beginning to understand. The light belongs here too, not only in your thoughts, not only in the beautiful sentences you can understand when you are calm. It belongs in the body that has been carrying the habits of fear. The jaw that tightens before you realize you are upset. The throat that closes around words you do not know how to say. The shoulders that rise when someone asks something from you. The chest that prepares for an answer before the answer arrives. The hands that reach for the phone before you have consciously decided to check it. The stomach that contracts around uncertainty. The back that holds itself as if it must remain ready. The legs that keep moving because stopping might give the mind too much room. This body has participated in the guarding. Not because it was doing anything wrong. It learned patterns beside you. It learned what kinds of moments seem to require readiness. It learned how quickly to respond. It learned when to become small. It learned how to prepare before you had words for what you were preparing for. So the Buddha deserves the same kindness you have begun offering the smaller hands within you. No commands, no demand for immediate relaxation, only warmth brought closer. Imagine an ordinary moment later today. Your phone lights up. For an instant, your attention jumps toward it. Before you know who it is, the body has already reacted. Your chest changes. Your hands become ready. The mind begins guessing. This is where the new movement can enter. Not by telling yourself that the message means nothing. You do not know that yet. Not by pretending you do not care. You may care very much. You bring the flame inward first. You feel the hand that wants to reach. You recognize the chest that has moved into readiness. You let one small part of your attention remain with you while you look. Then you respond to what is actually there. Not to every possibility that appeared before the screen opened. That difference may seem almost invisible, but your life is made of invisible differences. A second of space, a softer jaw, a shoulder that does not have to stay near the ears, a message read once instead of 5 times, a reply written from clarity instead of panic, a request considered before yes leaves your mouth. These moments are where the flame becomes practical. You are not carrying a metaphor instead of living your life. You are using an image to remember where your attention belongs. Some outward, some inward. Enough outward to meet reality. Enough inward to remain with yourself while you meet it. Think about your jaw. It may have learned to hold unsaid things. A disagreement you decided was not worth having. An answer you swallowed because you wanted to keep the peace. A need you minimized. A question you were afraid would sound foolish. An anger you thought would make you less lovable. A truth that took longer to admit than to feel. The jaw can become a quiet keeper of what was never expressed. You do not need to make it release anything. Just bring warmth there. The flame does not interrogate. It does not say, "Tell me everything you have been holding." It says, "You do not have to tighten harder just because something matters." Your face is permitted to belong to you. Your mouth is permitted to take time before answering. Your words do not have to arrive instantly. A thoughtful silence is not a failure. A boundary does not become unkind because someone dislikes it. You can take a moment before you agree. You can say, "Let me think about that." You can say, "I cannot do that today." You can say, "I need more information." You can say, "That does not work for me." You can say nothing until you know what is true. There is energy in no longer making immediate availability your proof of goodness. Now bring the image toward your throat. There may have been days when your throat carried 2 different lives. What you felt and what you said. You felt hurt and said, "It is fine." You felt overwhelmed and said, "I can handle it." You needed help and said, "Do not worry about me." You wanted to decline and said, "Sure." You needed space and said, "Whatever you want." Not every compromise is self-betrayal. Relationships require flexibility. Work requires cooperation. Families require generosity. But when your voice repeatedly disappears before anyone else has even asked you to give it up, the body can begin carrying the cost. Let the flame reach there. Your voice does not have to become loud to become yours. You do not need a confrontation for every discomfort. You do not have to explain every boundary in 10 paragraphs. You can speak plainly. You can speak later. You can choose what deserves words. You can choose what does not. The smaller hands within you learn something each time your grown voice tells the truth without punishment. They learn that honesty does not automatically lead to abandonment. They learn that discomfort can be survived. They learn that not everyone has to approve. They learn that you can remain warm without disappearing. Move toward the shoulders. Notice how often shoulders become messengers before the mind catches up. A difficult name appears on the screen. They rise. Someone asks, "Can you do me a favor?" They rise. A deadline comes closer. They rise. A conversation turns tense. They rise. Sometimes the body begins carrying the task before you have decided whether the task belongs to you. You do not need to push the shoulders down. Just recognize what they have been trying to do. They have been helping you prepare. They have been lifting invisible weight before it is even placed there. Bring the flame close. You can be responsible without carrying everything in advance. You can wait until the weight is real before lifting it. You can ask whether it belongs to you. You can ask whether someone else can help. You can ask whether the deadline can move. You can ask whether the request needs an answer today. You can ask whether your fear has turned possibility into obligation. Your shoulders do not have to volunteer before your wisdom arrives. Then the chest. The chest often knows anticipation intimately. It braces for news. It tightens around conflict. It holds affection and fear in the same place. It can feel how much you care. And because you care, fear may tell you to grip harder. Protect this. Do not lose this. Make this work. Make them stay. Make the outcome good. But love cannot be made safe through tension. Caring cannot control another person's choices. A tight chest cannot negotiate with the future. The grown hands can bring warmth here without pretending the heart has nothing to lose. You are allowed to love without rehearsing gray, if every day. You are allowed to value something without constantly imagining its disappearance. You are allowed to enjoy what is present without demanding a guarantee that it will remain forever. This moment does not have to be ruined by the possibility that another moment may be different. Let that truth rest near the chest. You do not need to spend today grieving tomorrow in advance. There is energy inside that release. Not because you no longer care, because you stop asking care to become fear. Now the hands, your real hands, the hands that type, hold, cook, work, drive, clean, comfort, carry, reach. These hands may have learned urgency. They move quickly towards solutions. They pick up what other people leave. They answer. They fix. They organize. They search. They refresh the page. They open the conversation. They check the account. They rewrite the sentence. They find something to do because doing can feel safer than waiting. Look at the intelligence in that. Your hands know how to participate in life. They know how to make change real. But capable hands deserve rest from unnecessary assignments. Before the hand reaches, there can be a question. Is there anything useful for me to do? If yes, let your hands do it. If no, let them remain where they are. The hand that does not send the unnecessary message is still capable. The hand that does not reopen the conversation is still loving. The hand that lets someone else carry their own responsibility is not selfish. The hand that rests is not useless. Your worth was never stored in constant motion. The flame moves toward the stomach. This is where uncertainty can feel immediate. A thought appears, and the stomach responds as if the future has already happened. You might not know what you're afraid of yet. You only know something inside has tightened. The old habit may be to solve the sensation with thought. What is wrong? What did I miss? What is about to happen? What does this mean? Sometimes a sensation does have useful information. Sometimes hunger, illness, stress, medication, fatigue, or another physical factor deserves appropriate attention. Sometimes your body is responding to something genuinely unsafe. And sometimes the sensation is the echo of a thought moving faster than the facts. You do not have to diagnose it instantly. Bring warmth there, not interpretation. Warmth. You can say inwardly, I know something in me is preparing. Then see what is true. Where am I? What is happening? What do I actually know? What needs action? What can wait? This is how the grown hands stay in the room. Fear does not have to be punished. It also does not have to write the entire story. The stomach can feel uncertainty while your mind remains honest. Then you're back. Think of everything people say they carry. Responsibility, family, work, expectations, regret, other people's opinions, the future, the past. The body can start behaving as if every metaphorical burden is physical. You may straighten yourself when you want to collapse. You may keep working because someone depends on you. You may become the strong one because everyone has become used to you being the strong one. Strength can become an identity that leaves little room for being held, but strength is not the absence of need. A strong person can need rest. A capable person can need reassurance. A wise person can need advice. A generous person can have limits. A loving person can become unavailable. A resilient person can say, I cannot carry this today. Let some warmth travel along the back. Not as a promise that all burdens disappear, as a reminder that every burden does not need to be carried in the same way. Some things need action, some need grieving, some need conversation, some need professional support, some need time, some need to be returned to the person they belong to, some need to be put down completely. You are permitted to learn which is which. Move lower into the hips and legs. These are the parts of you that move through the world. They take you toward people, away from people, into rooms, out of rooms, toward opportunities, away from what no longer fits. Fear sometimes freezes movement. Sometimes it accelerates it. You stay too long because leaving is frightening, or you leave too quickly because uncertainty feels unbearable. You chase because waiting hurts, or you avoid because trying carries risk. The flame does not tell your legs which direction to go. It gives you enough inward contact to choose with more clarity. You can move because something is right for you, not only because fear is pushing. You can remain because something is worth tending, not only because change scares you. You can leave because a situation violates what matters to you, not because you need to escape every uncomfortable feeling. You can wait when waiting is wise. You can act when action is needed. This is adult movement, not perfect movement, not fearless movement. Movement that belongs more fully to you. And now the feet, the most ordinary place. The part touching the floor while the mind travels through futures that do not exist yet. Your feet know something fear forgets. You are here, not in next month, not in the conversation you imagine, not in the loss you fear, not in the response that has not arrived. Here. This does not solve every problem. It gives every problem its correct address. What belongs to now can be met now. What belongs to later does not need to occupy every part of you today. Your feet can carry you through one real moment. Then another. That may be enough. This is how you carry the flame into your day. Not as something separate from errands, work, family, appointments, traffic, dishes, emails, decisions, or difficult conversations. It enters those exact places. Before you answer, before you over-explain, before you assume, before you volunteer, before you reopen the old wound with one more mental replay. The flame comes inward, the smaller hands receive, the grown hands choose. There is your practice without making it a ritual. There is your return without demanding perfection. And when you forget, you have not failed. You are human. The old movement may happen first. You may check. You may explain too much. You may realize later that you said yes while wanting to say no. You may spend an hour worrying before remembering that your attention has traveled outward again. The moment you see it, the doorway is open. No punishment, no restart, no score, just the flame. Back inward. That is enough. There is another way to recognize your returning energy. You begin wanting things again. Not necessarily large things. You may want to make something. Call someone because you enjoy them rather than because you need reassurance. Walk somewhere without mentally solving your life. Listen to music without turning it into background noise for worry. Cook slowly. Read. Laugh. Finish something small. Sit without needing to extract meaning from the silence. Energy that is no longer guarding becomes available for living. This is important because fear can shrink desire. When so much attention is spent avoiding what you do not want, very little remains for asking what you do want. What feels interesting? What feels nourishing? What feels honest? What have you been postponing because all your inner resources were assigned elsewhere? You do not need a dramatic answer. Sometimes returning energy looks like curiosity. You wonder what you might enjoy. You remember that there are parts of you not organized around danger. There is humor in you, creativity, affection, taste, intelligence, play, preference, a capacity to be moved by ordinary beauty, a desire to learn, a desire to contribute, a desire to be quiet, a desire to belong to your own life. Fear is part of you. It is not all of you. The flame illuminates more than the guard. It begins revealing the person the guard was protecting. That person deserves some daylight, some choice, some room. You have spent enough time defining yourself by what you survived, feared, prevented, managed, or anticipated. You are also what you love, what you create, what you choose, what makes you laugh, what you refuse, what you begin, what you release, what you are still curious about, what you are learning to receive. This is where the affirmations begin to become less like statements you are trying to believe and more like small places to stand. I can meet this moment without meeting every future. My attention can return to me. I can care without carrying everything. I can be wise without staying tense. I can take my time before I answer. I can let another person have their own reaction. My boundaries can carry warmth. My no can be honest. My yes can be free. I do not need to predict everything to respect myself. I can face what is real. I can leave imagined futures unvisited. I am learning the difference between fear and wisdom. I can listen without obeying every alarm. My body does not have to prepare for every possibility. You may recognize guarding in the way you enter a room and immediately read everyone's face. Who is upset? Who seems distant? Did something happen before I got here? Is someone disappointed in me? Is there tension I need to fix? You may have become very good at sensing shifts in other people. Sometimes that sensitivity is useful. Sometimes it is compassion. Sometimes it is experience. But sometimes it becomes a job you never agreed to keep doing. You walk into a room, and before you know how you feel, you already know how everyone else seems to feel. Before you ask yourself what you need, you have begun adjusting. Your voice changes. Your posture changes. Your words change. Your needs move to the back. You become easier, quieter, more useful, less complicated. You tell yourself it is easier this way. And perhaps for a long time it was. You may have learned that being easy reduced conflict. You may have learned that being useful brought approval. You may have learned that noticing other people early gave you time to protect yourself from their disappointment. You may have learned that if you stayed one step ahead, you could soften the impact of whatever came next. There is intelligence in survival strategies. There is intelligence in adaptation. There is intelligence in a mind that studies its environment and tries to keep you from being hurt twice in the same way. The problem is not that your mind tried to protect you. The problem is that protection can become a full-time position long after the original emergency is gone. Then you begin living as if every silence requires interpretation. Every change of tone requires analysis. Every delay requires a story. Every mistake requires punishment. Every uncertainty requires preparation. Every difficult feeling requires an immediate solution. You do not get to simply have a moment. You have to manage the moment. You do not get to simply feel disappointed. You have to figure out what the disappointment means about your future. You do not get to simply feel uncertain. You have to make uncertainty confess what it is planning to do to you. You do not get to simply wait. You have to fill waiting with predictions. This is exhausting. And because much of it happens silently, the people around you may not know how much work you are doing. You can say, "I'm fine," and mean, "I am doing everything I can to keep myself from falling apart." You can smile and mean, "I do not want anyone to worry about me." You can become so fluent in appearing fine that your own inner life stops receiving a truthful report. And this does not make you false. It often means you learned how to stay connected. Human beings need connection. When connection has ever felt uncertain, conditional, volatile, or easily lost, the mind can become highly attentive to signs of change. It can learn to watch for the smallest withdrawal. A shorter reply. That I can bring warmth to the places that have been guarding. My hands can rest before they reach. My jaw can soften before I explain. My shoulders do not have to carry what has not happened. My chest can hold love without rehearsing loss. My stomach can feel uncertainty without turning it into prophecy. My back does not have to hold everyone. My feet belong to this moment. My light belongs here too. Some of my energy can stay with me. I am included in my own care. I can receive what I give. I can be kind without disappearing. I can be available without being endlessly available. I can help without becoming responsible for everything. I can love without abandoning my limits. I can care deeply and still come home to myself. Let those sentences pass through without turning them into another assignment. Keep only what feels usable. Leave anything that does not fit. Your inner life does not need to agree with every sentence in order to receive something from this moment. And somewhere among these words, there may be one quality that feels especially important today. Not the word you think you should choose, the word that feels like a direction. Peace, trust, space, warmth, clarity, courage, rest, truth, freedom, patience, enough, or another word that belongs only to you. If you want to place that intention somewhere outside your own mind, you can leave your word in the comments. Just the word is enough. No explanation is required. Let it be a small marker of where you want some of your energy to return. Then continue living. You do not need to watch what anyone else chooses. Your word belongs to you, and the flame keeps moving inward, toward your own hands, toward your own voice, toward the life happening beneath the fear. You are allowed to have energy that is not spent anticipating pain. You are allowed to have attention that is not devoted to monitoring everyone else. You are allowed to enjoy something without asking whether it will last. You are allowed to feel good without immediately preparing for the opposite. You are allowed to receive a calm moment without turning it into a question. You are allowed to be here. You are allowed to have some of yourself back. There may still be fear. There may still be unresolved things. The message may still be unanswered. The decision may still be waiting. Someone may still misunderstand. Tomorrow may still be uncertain, and the light can remain inward. The smaller hands can remain warm. The grown hands can remain close. You do not need complete resolution before your body receives care. You do not need everyone's approval before your shoulders are permitted to lower. You do not need certainty before your jaw releases the sentence it has been gripping. You do not need the future to make a promise before you stop spending all of today preparing for it. This is your energy learning another direction. Not away from life, back into life, back into the body, living it, back into the hands that deserve warmth too. I have energy for myself. My light belongs here. I return to myself. I choose what is real. I release the extra weight. I keep what is mine. I return what is not. I can wait without disappearing. I can act without panic. I can care without fear leading. I trust my grown hands. I honor the smaller hands. I share the warmth inward. My attention is precious. My energy has a home. I belong in my care. I am here. Warmth is here. Light is here. I am still here. And as these lines become shorter, something important is happening. You are no longer being asked to understand everything. You have understood enough. The mind does not need another long explanation. The body has been shown the direction. The flame moves inward. The smaller hands receive. The grown hands remain. What comes next is not another lesson. It is the quieter part of the return, the place where fewer words are needed, where fear does not have to be defeated before life can feel like yours again, where the energy that spent so long watching begins to remember another purpose. Living. That is what your energy was always for, not only for preparing, not only for preventing, not only for watching the edges of every situation, not only for making sure everybody else is comfortable before you ask whether you are. Your energy was also meant for being here, for having preferences, for changing your mind, for enjoying what is good while it is good, for making something without needing it to prove your worth, for speaking to someone because you want connection, not reassurance, for sitting beside uncertainty without turning yourself into its full-time investigator, for waking into a day and letting the day become itself before fear writes the ending. The guard may still speak. It may still point toward the phone, toward the unanswered question, toward the person whose opinion matters too much, toward tomorrow, toward the old conversation, toward the possibility you cannot control. You do not have to silence the guard. The grown hands are here. That changes the relationship. You can hear the alarm without becoming the alarm. You can feel the pull without following every direction it gives. You can be concerned without becoming consumed. You can care without making yourself responsible for controlling the ending. You can be uncertain without making uncertainty the center of your identity. This is where returned energy becomes useful. At first, it may not feel like energy. It may feel like the absence of something. Less checking, less explaining, less rehearsal, less scanning, less effort spent trying to make yourself acceptable to every person in the room. Less time wondering what someone meant when there is no information available. Less pressure to know exactly what comes next. You may mistake that space for emptiness. It is not empty. It is available. Available attention. Available thought. Available warmth. Available time. Available choice. The space fear used to occupy does not have to be filled immediately. You do not have to turn healing into another project. You do not have to ask, what should I accomplish with all this new space? You can let some of it remain open. There is something deeply different about a mind that does not need to assign every free moment a problem. A quiet moment can just be quiet. A good moment can just be good. A delay can just be a delay. Someone else's expression can belong to them. A message can wait. An unanswered question can remain unanswered for part of a day. A difficult emotion can move through without becoming a verdict. You can have an ordinary afternoon without turning it into preparation for an imaginary emergency. That is living too, and the more this begins to feel possible, the more you may recognize how much energy fear once used in the name of helping you. It worked hard. It tried to keep watch. It tried to prevent surprise. It tried to protect you from shame. It tried to make rejection predictable. It tried to make uncertainty manageable. It tried to solve other people's reactions before they had them. You do not have to hate that part for trying. The smaller hands are not guilty. They were carrying a job too large for them. That is why the image matters even now. The grown hands remain above them, not dominating them, not demanding that they grow up faster, not asking them to stop feeling what they feel. The flame is lowered. Warmth moves inward. The smaller hands do not have to hold the future. They only receive. This is how your inner life begins to reorganize without force. The frightened part does less guarding. The grown part does more choosing. Your attention is no longer automatically sent to the loudest fear. It becomes something you can direct. Here, not there. This problem, not 10 imaginary versions of it. This fact, not the story fear added. This boundary, not the endless argument about whether you are permitted to have one. This moment, not next month, this breath of ordinary life, not the entire future. You are not trying to become careless. You are becoming more accurate. Fear often uses too much information. Wisdom uses what is needed. Fear gathers possibilities. Wisdom looks for facts. Fear asks, what if everything goes wrong? Wisdom asks, what is mine to do now? Fear asks, how can I make sure no one is upset with me? Wisdom asks, what is honest and respectful here? Fear asks, how do I guarantee that I will never be hurt? Wisdom asks, what choices support my safety, dignity, and well-being? Fear asks for a guarantee. Life rarely gives one. Your grown hands can still act without it. There is strength in that, quiet strength, the kind that does not need a performance, the kind that can say, I am afraid, and I can still make a clear decision. I do not know, and I can still take care of myself. They may be disappointed, and I can still speak honestly. This may change, and I can still be present for what is here. I may need support, and I can ask. I may need to leave, and I am permitted to protect myself. I may need to stay with a difficult process for a while, and I can do that without attacking myself every day. These are not dramatic declarations. They are grown hand choices, and choices use energy differently than fear does. Fear burns attention in every direction. Choice gathers it. Fear keeps opening doors in the mind. Choice asks which door is actually yours. Fear says, prepare for all of them. Choice says, meet the one that opens. You do not need to stand in every possible future at once. You never did. The body cannot live there. Your feet know this. They are still here. The floor beneath them is here. The hands are here. The chest is here. The day is here. Your actual life is here. You may feel a strange sadness as this becomes clear. Sometimes releasing fear reveals how long you have lived beside it. How many days were partly spent somewhere else? How many meals were eaten while the mind worried? How many conversations were only half heard because another conversation was being replayed internally? How many good moments were followed immediately by the thought that they might not last? How many times you reached the thing you wanted and could not receive it because fear was already scanning for what could take it away? You do not need to turn that sadness into regret. Regret can become another guard. It can say, now go backward and fix every year. You cannot, and you do not need to. The grown hands are holding today. This flame is being passed today. Care can only arrive where you are, so let the past be known without asking it to become different. You can say, I see how hard I worked to feel safe. I see how often I looked outward. I see how much energy went into protecting myself. I see the smaller hands now. No accusation, only recognition. There is something compassionate about finally understanding your own exhaustion. You may have thought you were lazy when you were overloaded. You may have thought you lacked discipline when your attention was divided. You may have thought you were too sensitive when you were constantly monitoring. You may have thought you needed more motivation when what you needed was less internal guarding. You may have believed that if you pushed harder, energy would return. Sometimes what returns energy is not another push. It is ending an unnecessary assignment. You do not need to monitor every silence. That assignment can end. You do not need to manage every impression. That assignment can end. You do not need to know what everybody thinks of you. That assignment can end. You do not need to rehearse every conversation before it happens. That assignment can end. You do not need to keep proving that you are useful enough to deserve belonging. That assignment can end. You do not need to punish yourself for not predicting something you could not have known. That assignment can end. You do not need to treat every fearful thought as advance information. That assignment can end. Not forever in one perfect moment, in pieces, one moment at a time. One unnecessary task removed from the guard, then another, the smaller hands become warmer, the grown hands become less tired. The flame does not need to become enormous. That is not the goal. Enough light for the next honest choice. Enough warmth to stay inwardly present. Enough steadiness to, distinguish fact from fear. Enough care to stop making yourself the enemy. Enough. That word deserves space. Enough. Fear rarely believes in enough. It wants one more check, one more reassurance, one more plan, one more explanation, one more piece of proof, one more guarantee. Warmth has another language. Enough information for now, enough thought for now, enough explaining, enough carrying, enough preparing, enough punishment, enough. There can be dignity in ending the mental workday before every uncertainty is solved. There can be wisdom in saying, this question does not have an answer today. There can be self-respect in saying, I have considered this enough. There can be peace in deciding that another person's reaction will not receive the rest of your afternoon. You do not need to slam the door on the thought. You can stop feeding it. That is different. A thought can remain without receiving another hour. A feeling can remain without becoming a command. Fear can remain without owning all your light. This is the freedom we have been moving toward. Not freedom from every human fear. Freedom from the belief that fear must be obeyed because it arrived. And now the words can become fewer. Your body knows the direction. Your attention can return. Your hands can remain with you. The flame can remain close. I can be here. I can choose slowly. I can meet what is real. I can leave the rest unopened. My care includes me. My energy includes me. My life includes me. I do not need every answer. I do not need every approval. I do not need every guarantee. I can trust a clear no. I can trust an honest yes. I can wait for facts. I can ask for support. I can change direction. I can protect my peace. I can protect my safety. I can honor my limits. I can care without chasing. I can love without gripping. I can listen without surrendering myself. I can feel fear. I can remain here. The smaller hands receive. The grown hands hold. Warmth moves inward. My attention returns. My energy returns to living. My voice belongs here. My choices belong here. My body belongs here. My life is happening here. No chasing. No proving. No rehearsing. No punishment. Less guarding. More presence. Warm hands. Clear eyes. Steady light. Here. Enough. Present. Alive. You do not have to repeat any of this until it feels true. You do not have to turn these words into another responsibility. Some sentences may stay with you, others may pass. Nothing important is lost because you do not memorize it. The point was never to carry 20 more sentences in your mind. The point was to stop carrying what fear keeps adding. So take less, not more. Keep the image if it serves you. Your grown hands, the warm flame, the smaller hands within you. That is enough to find the direction again. You may be standing in a grocery store when fear appears. You may be reading an email. You may be in a meeting. You may be sitting in your car before going inside. You may be hearing someone say something that activates an old fear. You may be alone in your kitchen with a thought that feels much larger than the room. Nothing ceremonial is required. Your attention can move inward without anybody seeing. The grown hands are here. You do not need to explain the image. You do not need to prove that it works. It is a reminder. Do not send all your warmth away. Do not make fear responsible for the future. Do not leave the smaller hands empty while you try to illuminate everything outside you. Some light belongs inward. Then see what the moment actually needs. Sometimes it will need nothing. This may be the hardest lesson for a mind trained to guard. Nothing. No message, no research, no apology, no correction, no plan, no immediate answer. There are moments when your next wise action is no action. You let information arrive in its own time. You let another adult manage their own feelings. You let a conversation breathe. You let your body settle before making the decision. You let the future remain beyond today's reach. You do not call that helplessness. You call it discernment. Other moments will need action, a truthful conversation, a boundary, a doctor's appointment, a request for support, a practical plan, a financial decision made with appropriate information, a change in environment, a difficult no, a brave yes. The inward flame does not recharge. The place action. It helps you act without giving panic the steering wheel. That distinction protects the entire meaning of this work. Self-kindness is not an escape from reality. It is a way of meeting reality without adding unnecessary cruelty. You can take serious things seriously without becoming merciless toward yourself. You can ask for skilled help without believing you have failed. You can face consequences without deciding you are unworthy. You can make repairs where repairs are possible. You can grieve what cannot be repaired. You can learn. You can change. You can remain human through all of it. Fear may tell you that kindness will make you soft in the wrong way, but the flame has shown something else. Warmth does not remove the grown hands. They are still capable, still discerning, still able to close a door, still able to reach for help, still able to hold what matters, still able to release what does not belong there. The hands become more useful when they are not clenched around every possible future. You may begin to see this in your relationships. You stop asking people to prove your worth every time they are quiet. You become more able to hear what they actually say. You can care about connection without making every disagreement catastrophic. You can recognize when reassurance is healthy and when you are asking someone else to calm a fear that returns no matter what they say. You may become clearer about who feels safe, who respects your boundaries, who can hear no, who allows you to have needs, who asks about your inner world instead of only receiving what you give. The flame can illuminate that too. Warmth toward yourself does not make you less loving. It can make your love more honest. You give because you choose to give, not because you are afraid that withholding one thing will cost you belonging. You help because help feels right, not because usefulness is the price of being loved. You say yes because you mean yes. And when the answer is no, you stop treating no as a moral failure. Some people may need time to adjust to this version of you. That is not evidence that you are wrong. If people benefited from your lack of boundaries, boundaries may feel inconvenient to them. Their inconvenience does not automatically mean you have become unkind. Look at the facts. Look at your values. Look at what is safe. Then choose. The grown hands can do that. You can also begin to see the difference in the smallest transitions of your day. the moment after a conversation ends, the few minutes before an appointment, the walk from one room to another, the space between, sending something and receiving an answer. These ordinary intervals are often where fear tries to take over the empty chair. Nothing is happening yet, so the mind starts producing something to happen. It reviews, it forecasts, it asks whether you missed a sign. It prepares a defense for a conversation no one has started. It imagines how you will cope with an outcome that has not arrived. You can recognize that movement without following it all the way. The flame comes inward. What do I know right now? What belongs to me right now? What does not need an answer right now? Those questions do not eliminate uncertainty. They give uncertainty a boundary. This is enough information for this moment. This is enough attention for this moment. This is enough preparation for this moment. You may be surprised by how much energy was disappearing into transitions that looked empty from the outside. A person says, "We need to talk later," and fear wants to live the entire conversation before later comes. A manager says they want to discuss something, and the mind begins reviewing every mistake you have ever made. Someone you love becomes quiet, and you immediately search yourself for the reason. A medical appointment is scheduled, and your attention keeps trying to travel into results you do not have. A payment is due, and fear begins turning one financial concern into a judgment about your entire future. A plan changes, and your body responds before you know whether the change is even bad. Real concerns deserve real responses, but a real response is usually smaller than the universe of possibilities fear creates around it. One call, one question, one boundary, one piece of information, one honest conversation, one request for qualified help, one decision made when the facts are available. The grown hands look for what is real enough to touch. Fear reaches for everything else. You can become more loyal to what is real. That does not mean you never think ahead. Planning is part of being human. You can plan a trip, prepare for an interview, save money, ask difficult questions, think through consequences, make arrangements for people you care about. Preparation becomes exhausting when it loses its ending. Healthy preparation eventually says, "I have done what I can for now." Fear says, "Keep going, because there must be one more possibility you have not controlled." You are learning to hear the difference. The grown hands know when enough has been done. That may feel uncomfortable at first. Stopping can make the unfinished feeling louder. You close the browser and the question remains. You put the phone down and the silence remains. You leave the conversation alone and the uncertainty remains. You make the best decision available and doubt may remain. The old habit says the presence of discomfort means there is still work to do. That is not always true. Sometimes discomfort is simply the feeling of not controlling what cannot be controlled. You can survive that feeling without turning it into another assignment. Bring the warm flame inward. The smaller hands may still want an answer. They may still ask, "Are we sure? Are we safe? Did we do enough?" The grown hands do not mock those questions. They also do not pretend to possess certainty they do not have. They can answer with honesty. We have the information we have. We have done what belongs to us. We can respond again if something changes. For this moment, we are here. That kind of inner response builds trust differently. Trust does not have to mean believing that every outcome will please you. It can mean believing that you can meet yourself inside the outcome. You can ask for help if you need it. You can gather more information when it becomes available. You can change your mind when new facts arrive. You can grieve what hurts. You can celebrate what goes well without immediately searching for the catch. You can be disappointed without turning disappointment into self-rejection. You can be uncertain without treating yourself as unsafe company. The grown hands do not promise a painless life. They promise presence. The flame makes that promise visible, and your energy responds to presence. Think about how different it feels to enter a difficult conversation when you have already decided you do not need to control the other person's response. Your job becomes clearer. Speak truthfully. Listen accurately. Protect what needs protecting. Own what is yours. Do not take ownership of what is not. You may still feel nervous. But nervousness does not have to become hours of rehearsal followed by hours of review. The conversation can have a beginning and an ending. Your mind does not have to keep it alive indefinitely. When it is over, ask whether anything remains to be done. If there is an apology to make, make it. If there is a boundary to hold, hold it. If there is information to consider, consider it. If there is nothing else, let the conversation become past tense. This is one way you stop paying repeatedly for a moment that happened once. The same is true with mistakes. Fear can turn one mistake into an identity. I made a mistake becomes I cannot trust myself. I missed something becomes I always ruin things. Someone is disappointed becomes I am a disappointment. A choice did not work becomes I should never choose for myself again. The grown hands interrupt that expansion. They do not deny responsibility. They keep responsibility the correct size. This happened. This part is mine. This is what I can repair. This is what I can learn. This is where the event ends and my identity continues. There is energy in keeping an event its actual size. There is energy in refusing to make one bad hour explain your whole character. There is energy in learning without creating a permanent inner punishment. There is energy in accepting that being human includes imperfect judgment. You can become more trustworthy to yourself, not by never making mistakes, but by responding to mistakes without abandoning your dignity. The smaller hands learn from this too. They learn that an error does not make warmth disappear. A difficult emotion does not make warmth disappear. Someone's criticism does not make warmth disappear. A failed plan does not make warmth disappear. A different expression. A pause before someone answers. A plan that shifts. A door that closes harder than usual. A name that does not appear where you expected it. A routine that changes. A person who seems less warm. Fear can take tiny pieces of information and build a whole future from them. Not because you are foolish, because your mind is trying to protect you from being caught unprepared. If any part of this feels familiar, you are not being asked to diagnose your past. You are not being asked to decide whether your experience was serious enough to count. Pain does not become valid only after it wins an argument. Your nervous system does not need a courtroom. Your tiredness does not need a witness. Your fear does not need to prove its history before it is permitted to soften. You can meet what is here without turning your life into evidence. And you can be compassionate toward the version of you who learned these habits. That version of you may have been doing the best it could with the information it had. This matters because shame makes fear louder. When you attack yourself for being afraid, the mind often becomes more afraid. When you say, "What is wrong with me?" the part of you that already feels uncertain hears another threat. When you say, "Why can't I be normal?" the part of you that is tired of guarding does not feel released. It feels judged. When you say, "I hate that I am like this," you may accidentally become another voice that your inner world has to protect itself from. You do not need more inner enemies. You need less internal war. That does not mean approving of every fearful thought. It does not mean obeying fear. It does not mean giving every anxious idea authority over your choices. Compassion and obedience are not the same thing. You can understand why a thought appeared without treating it as a prophecy. You can understand why you want reassurance without asking another person to become responsible for your entire sense of safety. You can understand why uncertainty is difficult without demanding certainty from a world that cannot always provide it. You can understand the protective purpose of fear while choosing not to let it run every part of your day. This is an important difference. Fear may speak. It does not have to lead. Fear may ask questions. You do not have to answer every one. Fear may produce an image of the worst possibility. You do not have to turn that image into a plan. Fear may tell you to check again. You can choose to leave something alone for a while. Fear may say, "Fix this now." You can decide that not every discomfort is an emergency. There may be a part of you that resists this. It may say, "If I stop thinking about the problem, I will miss something. If I stop preparing, I will be irresponsible. If I stop expecting disappointment, I will become naive." If I stop reading people carefully, I will get hurt. Your own disappointment does not make warmth disappear. The flame is not a reward for getting life right. It is part of how you stay with yourself while living it. This matters on good days as much as difficult ones. Fear does not only appear around pain. Sometimes it appears when something begins to go well. You receive good news and immediately wonder how long it will last. Someone treats you well and part of you waits for them to change. A quiet week arrives and you become suspicious of the quiet. You feel happy, and a thought whispers that happiness makes you vulnerable. You accomplish something and move the standard higher before satisfaction can reach you. This is another place your energy can return. You can receive what is good while it is here. You do not protect joy by refusing to feel it. You do not make love safer by withholding your presence from it. You do not prevent disappointment by disappointing yourself in advance. The grown hands can hold a good moment too. No gripping, no guarantee. Warmth. You can say, "This is good now." You can let that sentence be complete. This is good now. Not forever, not proof of anything, not a promise. Now. Fear has spent enough time making you leave the present in both directions. Backward into what hurt, forward into what might. Your energy can remain closer to where your life can actually receive it. Here, where there is a cup to hold, a person to hear, work to finish, food to taste, a boundary to speak, a chair beneath you, a choice in front of you, a body asking not to be treated like an emergency when there is no emergency. This is not a small life. This is the life fear kept interrupting. You are not waiting for a more important moment to begin living. You are bringing your attention back into the moments that already belong to you. And this is where a deeper kind of confidence can begin. Not the confidence of knowing what will happen. The confidence of knowing what you no longer have to do to yourself while you wait to find out. You do not have to threaten yourself. You do not have to rehearse catastrophe. You do not have to earn belonging through exhaustion. You do not have to become useful every time you feel uncertain. You do not have to turn another person's mood into your mirror. You do not have to give fear the flame simply because fear speaks first. The grown hands are allowed to answer second. That second response can change the whole direction of a moment. Fear speaks, then you choose. Fear reaches, then you choose. Fear predicts, then you return to what is known. Fear tightens, then warmth moves inward. This is not instant transformation. It is relationship practiced inside ordinary life. Some days, the gap between fear and choice will be wide enough for you to recognize it quickly. Other days, you may spend a long time inside the old pattern before seeing what happened. The direction is still available. No shame is required for returning late. Late is still a return. The grown hands can do that. And slowly, you begin to experience your own energy differently. It is no longer something you have to force upward. It is something you stop leaking into unnecessary vigilance. A little returns from the conversation you decide not to replay. A little returns from the explanation you decide not to give. A little returns from letting someone else's mood stay outside your responsibility. A little returns from making one practical plan instead of 10 imaginary ones. A little returns from treating a quiet hour as a quiet hour. A little returns from the body when it no longer receives a danger message from every uncertain thought. A little returns from self-respect. A little returns from truth. A little returns from being included in your own love. This is how the promise completes itself. As fear is given less of your day to command, more of your real energy can become available for the life that is actually here. Not guaranteed, not all at once, not as proof that difficult days are finished, as possibility, as space, as a different direction. You may leave these words and feel very much like yourself. Good. You were never being asked to become somebody else. The goal was not a new personality, not permanent serenity, not a polished spiritual version of you who never becomes afraid. The goal was a relationship, your grown hands staying near, your smaller hands no longer left empty, your flame moving in both directions, outward when love calls for giving, inward when you need your own warmth. That is balance enough for today. There is no need to hold this perfectly. The image can grow faint. You can forget. Fear can return loudly. An old pattern can catch you on a hard day. None of that cancels the direction. You know where the flame can go now. Inward. Toward the hands that once believed they had to guard everything. Toward the part that tried so hard to protect you. Toward the body that carried the readiness. Toward your own life. And there is one last thing I want those smaller hands to know. They do not have to earn the flame. They do not need to become brave enough first. They do not need to stop shaking. They do not need to explain why they were afraid. They do not need to apologize for all the years spent watching. The grown hands do not ask for payment. They bring warmth because warmth belongs here. Life loves you. Let that be enough of an anchor. Not a promise that life always feels easy. Not a denial of what you have lived through. A reminder that you are part of life too. You are not standing outside it trying to qualify for care. You are here, part of this day, part of this body, part of this human experience, worthy of your own attention, worthy of boundaries, worthy of support, worthy of an inner voice that does not become cruel when you are afraid. The world does not need every piece of your flame. The future does not need today's entire supply. The past cannot use it now. The smaller hands can. So give them warmth. Let your shoulders carry only what belongs to this moment. Let your hands reach when reaching is useful. Let your voice take its rightful place. Let your no be clean. Let your yes be wholehearted. Let your attention come back from futures that have not called for it. You can meet tomorrow when tomorrow is here. You can meet the next conversation when it begins. You can meet the next decision with the information available then. You do not have to go ahead of yourself. You do not have to stand at every door. You do not have to light every road. This flame only needs to illuminate where you are. Here, these hands, this choice, this life. Warmth within, light within, energy within. No performance, no proving, no chasing. Just enough light, just enough warmth, just enough space. The guard can rest from this moment. The smaller hands are no longer empty. The grown hands remain close, and the flame finally warms the one who carried it. If I stop bracing, something will catch me off guard. These fears deserve respect, not agreement. Respect, because they reveal something. They reveal what your mind believes guarding has been doing for you. Your mind may believe vigilance is the reason you survive disappointment. Your mind may believe overthinking is the reason you avoided mistakes. Your mind may believe self-criticism keeps you improving. Your mind may believe rehearsing protects you from embarrassment. Your mind may believe expecting less protects you from grief. Your mind may believe staying tense keeps you ready. If you try to rip these habits away without understanding the promise beneath them, part of you may hold tighter. So we are not ripping anything away. We are listening for the promise. What does fear promise you? Does it promise that if you worry enough, you will be ready? Does it promise that if you expect the worst will hurt less? Does it promise that if you blame yourself first, no one else can surprise you with blame? Does it promise that if you stay useful, you will remain wanted? Does it promise that if you keep your needs small, people will stay? Does it promise that if you keep thinking, you will eventually discover the one thought that gives you control? Fear often survives by making a bargain. Give me your attention, and I will give you safety. Give me your sleep, and I will give you preparation. Give me your peace, and I will give you certainty. Give me your energy, and I will keep watch. But fear cannot always deliver what it promises. Sometimes it only keeps you busy. Sometimes it makes you pay in advance for pain that never arrives. Sometimes it asks your body to prepare for a future that does not happen. Sometimes it takes a neutral moment and turns it into a rehearsal for loss. Sometimes it convinces you that tension is proof of responsibility. And here is the part people rarely say clearly enough. You can become addicted to the feeling of preparing because preparation feels more active than uncertainty. Uncertainty asks you to wait. Fear gives you a job. Think, check, rehearse, predict, fix, prepare, scan, explain. Work harder, stay ready. A job can feel safer than not knowing. So if you have been overthinking, there may be nothing weak about you. You may be trying to turn uncertainty into work, and work is something you know how to do. You know how to be productive. You know how to help. You know how to solve. You know how to make lists in your mind. You know how to examine possibilities. You know how to look for what you missed. You know how to become responsible for the emotional temperature of a room. You know how to make yourself smaller around someone who seems overwhelmed. You know how to carry more than your share because carrying feels easier than asking whether anyone will help. You begin with moments, small ones. The moment before you reread the message again. The moment before you apologize for something that does not require an apology. The moment before you say yes when your body is already saying no. The moment before you explain yourself for the 5th time. The moment before you assume someone's silence is about you. The moment before you check whether the thing you fear has happened. The moment before you turn an uncomfortable feeling into a conclusion. You may not always choose differently. That is all right. Awareness is not a performance review. There will be days when you catch the pattern early. There will be days when you do not recognize it until hours later. There will be days when fear feels louder because you are tired, grieving, under pressure, physically unwell, financially strained, uncertain about someone you love, or dealing with something genuinely difficult. Your human circumstances matter. Not every fear is irrational. Not every concern is imagined. Not every problem is solved by a change in thought. There are real situations that require action, support, planning, boundaries, information, medical care, professional guidance, practical help, or hard decisions. We are not turning reality into a mindset problem. We are talking about the extra labor fear can add on top of reality. The real issue may already be enough. You do not need 10 imaginary versions of it beside you. The real conversation may be difficult. You do not need to have it 50 times in your head before it happens. The real decision may require care. You do not need to punish yourself while making it. The real uncertainty may remain uncertain for a while. You do not need to spend every available ounce of attention trying to force an answer out of it. That is where energy begins to disappear. Not because you are doing life incorrect, because guarding is work, monitoring is work, predicting is work, editing yourself is work, performing I'm fine is work, making sure everyone else is comfortable before you know whether you are comfortable is work, replaying what you said is work, rehearsing what you might say is work. Trying to prevent every possible misunderstanding is work. Turning every feeling into a problem to solve is work. You may have been working all day without recognizing half of it as work. And when you finally stop moving, the mind may continue. The body sits down. The inner guard stays standing. You lie back. The inner guard reviews the day. You close your eyes. The inner guard opens old files. What did that mean? What if this happens? What should I have said? What will I do tomorrow? Why did I react like that? What if I disappoint them? What if I lose this? What if I made the wrong choice? What if I cannot fix it? The questions arrive faster than answers ever could. And because there are no final answers to many of them, the mind keeps working. This can make you believe peace is something you have not earned yet. I will relax when I know. I will feel better when they answer. I will settle when the decision is made. I will breathe when the money is handled. I will rest when the relationship is clear. I will be okay when the test comes back. I will feel safe when nothing can change unexpectedly. But life does not offer that kind of contract. There will always be something unfinished, something unknown, something changing, something outside your control. If peace requires complete certainty, peace will always be postponed. That is why the question is not, how do I make life perfectly predictable? The question is, how do I stop spending all of myself trying to predict it? That question brings us closer to where your energy has been going. And no, I am not going to tell you that your fear is imaginary. I am not going to tell you that everything you worry about is impossible. I am not going to tell you that if you think the right thoughts, nothing painful will happen. Life is larger than that. People make choices. Bodies have needs. Relationships change. Plans fail. Circumstances shift. Loss is real. Disappointment is real. Risk is real. And still, there is a way to live that does not require you to rehearse pain before it arrives. There is a way to respect reality without becoming loyal to dread. There is a way to be wise without remaining braced. There is a way to care deeply without spending your entire inner life preparing to lose what you care about. You do not have to earn that way of living by becoming a different person. You begin with the person who is here, the one who checks, the one who replays, the one who explains, the one who anticipates, the one who gets tired, the one who sometimes says, "I'm fine," because explaining everything feels like too much. The one who has survived enough uncertainty to believe that readiness is the closest thing to safety. That person does not need contempt. That person needs understanding. Your mind was not plotting against you. Your body was not betraying you. Your sensitivity was not a moral failure. Your fear did not appear because you were defective. These responses may have been attempts to protect you. That is why kindness matters. Not sugary kindness, not denial, not pretending everything is fine. Real kindness. The kind that says, I see why you are tired. The kind that says, you have been standing guard for a long time. The kind that says, you do not have to be ashamed of the strategies that helped you survive. The kind that says, we can learn another way without hating the old way. The kind that says, fear does not make you unworthy of peace. And if some part of you immediately argues with that, it can argue. You do not have to silence it. It may say, but I should have handled this better. It may say, other people have been through worse. It may say, I caused some of my own problems. It may say, I ignored signs. It may say, I stayed too long. It may say, I trusted the wrong person. It may say, I spent money badly. It may say, I wasted time. It may say, I should have known. You can take responsibility without becoming cruel. You can learn without sentencing yourself. You can admit that you made a choice you would not make now and still recognize that the version of you who made it had different knowledge, different needs, different fears, different hopes. Growth does not require hatred of your former self. Wisdom does not require humiliation. You are permitted to become wiser without calling the old you stupid. You are permitted to set a boundary now without attacking yourself for not setting it sooner. You are permitted to leave something now without condemning yourself for once wanting it. You are permitted to ask for support now without shaming yourself for having tried to carry it alone. You are permitted to change. This is how guilt begins to loosen its grip on fear. Because guilt often says, if I had been better, I would not feel this way. But fear is not evidence of bad character. Fear is information. Sometimes the information is about a real present danger. Sometimes it is about an old pattern. Sometimes it is about exhaustion. Sometimes it is about uncertainty. Sometimes it is about loss. Sometimes it is about having cared deeply. Sometimes it is about the mind remembering what once hurt and trying to make sure you never feel it again. You can listen without surrendering your whole day. You can ask, is there something I need to do right now? If yes, do what is yours to do. Make the call. Set the boundary. Ask the question. Get the information. Speak to someone trustworthy. Write down the practical next step. Then let action be action. Do not turn action into punishment. And if there is nothing to do right now, recognize that too. There is enormous energy in no longer pretending that thinking is the same as solving. There is enormous energy in admitting I do not know yet. There is enormous energy in saying this matters to me and I still cannot control every outcome. There is enormous energy in allowing one unanswered question to remain unanswered for the next hour. Not forever, just for now. You have spent enough of your life trying to earn safety by thinking harder. You may not need harder thinking. You may need a different relationship with the part of you that is afraid. We are getting close to the question I asked earlier. Where has your energy actually been going? By now, you may have begun to see some of the places, into checking, into replaying, into reading faces, into predicting, into rehearsing, into explaining, into bracing, into making yourself easy, into staying useful, into trying to feel safe by being ready for every possible version of what comes next. But there is another part of the answer. It is quieter than all of those habits. It is older than today's message, today's worry, today's unfinished conversation. It has something to do with the way you learn to hold your attention. And in the next part of this journey, we are going to meet that place without fighting it. For now, let one truth remain close. You are not weak because you became tired from carrying invisible work. You are not failing because your mind learned to protect you. You are not behind because peace has not arrived on command. You are learning to see the work you have been doing inside. And seeing it changes the way you can care for yourself, not through force, not through shame, not through pretending fear is gone, through a different kind of attention, the kind that does not leave you outside your own care. There is a picture I want to place beside that kind of attention. Imagine your grown hands holding a single warm flame. Nothing dramatic surrounds it. There is no great ceremony, no blinding light, no demand that the flame become larger than it is. It is enough that it is there, steady enough to be seen, warm enough to be felt, small enough to be held with care. For years, you may have imagined your energy as something you were supposed to send outward, toward the person who needed reassurance, toward the problem that needed solving, toward the room that needed calming, toward the future that needed preparing, toward the relationship that needed maintaining, toward the work that needed finishing, toward whatever might go wrong if you stopped paying attention. Your hands learn to carry light toward everything around you. You brought it to people before they asked. You brought eyes to situations before they became difficult. You brought it to conversations while calculating how to keep them smooth. You brought it to responsibilities that were yours. And sometimes you brought it to responsibilities that were never yours at all. You learned to hold the flame outward. Keep this person comfortable. Keep that person from becoming disappointed. Make sure no one misunderstands. Do not become difficult. Do not need too much. Stay useful. Stay alert. Know what is happening. Read the room. Fix what you can. Prepare for what you cannot fix. Keep carrying the light. You became skilled at it. So skilled that you may not have recognized what was happening behind your own hands. There is another pair of hands there. Smaller hands. Cupped hands. Hands that have been waiting quietly inside you. They do not belong to a separate person. They belong to a part of you that learned very early that attention often had to travel outward before it could come inward. Perhaps that part learned to watch faces before naming its own feelings,